To start off 2025, I bought an old box van with plans to turn it into a camper. In the last video, we tackled the first step, cleaning out the van, removing piles of trash, loose bolts, screws, and even some big shelves. In today's episode, it's all about solving one of the biggest challenges, stopping the van's water leaks. Before we can start building out the interior, we need to seal things up and keep the water out. Thanks for tuning in to part 2 of the box van build. I hope you enjoy. My new Ford box van has a couple of problems. It's got some holes on the side, it's got some leaks up top on the roof. Before we can start the build here on the inside, we need to do some repairs. Before we can patch and seal these holes, we have to clean off some of this rust. Let's start with that.
Smoke clouds above my head, lightning through my skin, my eyes go red, and I feel it all again. So young, dumb but proud, too high to come back down, and never looking back, and I feel it all again. I feel that sunshine, I see those blue eyes, that little kiss me smile has got me going wild.
I took my orbital sander and cleaned off some of the rust on both the inside and the outside. And the next thing we're going to work on here is patching these holes. So I got some JB Weld. This is the plastic weld epoxy. And the reason I went with this one is that it said it works with fiberglass and is good for repairing holes. Now the sides of these box van are FRP, which I'm pretty sure just means fiberglass reinforced panel. I might be wrong. Everything is nice and clean with this simple green. We're gonna go to the outside now and tape off the holes on the outside. That way when we put the JB Weld filler on the inside, it doesn't drip out the other side of the hole.
And I feel it all again. Long ride, my four-wheel drive. She sang along in the passenger side. She sang my song, and I feel it all again.
So we left off yesterday by patching some of these holes from the inside. It's now cured and it feels nice and solid. On the outside, most of these holes look pretty good. You can see where the epoxy came through. It feels nice and solid. However, on a couple of these holes, you can see the epoxy didn't quite come all of the way through. I got something else to try, and maybe this would have been better to use in the first place, but it's my first time doing any type of body work, so I am very much learning as I go. I picked up some Bondo body filler here, and I'm thinking that by mixing this and applying it on the side, we might be able to kind of fill in some of those remaining gaps and holes. Day 2 now, we are back. Let's finish patching some holes. Okay, well I got some Bondo on here, just covering up all of those holes. Honestly, this might have been the move. It might have been better to do this in the first place. The thicker putty just stays on the vertical surface so much better than the JB Weld, but at the same time the JB Weld is super strong. And now I know that I got the hole mostly filled with JB Weld and then this as an extra layer on the outside. So I think we should be looking pretty good. I just gotta let this stuff sit and dry. I have no idea even how long it takes. Okay, I probably sound funny when I say this, but I didn't realize how hard Bondo gets when it dries. I think I would have just been fine using the Bondo instead of the epoxy and the Bondo. But lesson learned, we're gonna go ahead and start sanding this down now. I don't exactly know what I'm doing here, but we're starting with 80 grit, and then I'm planning to go finer and finer. Let's give it a shot. So I just finished sanding these patches down. I started with some 80 grit to get the bigger chunks off, and then I think used 180 to kind of smooth it out. And do I know what I'm doing? Honestly, not really, but it feels pretty nice and smooth right here, right now. That finer grit sandpaper really helps to just smooth everything out. I think the next step now is to paint it. This is not going to be perfect, it might not even be good, but this is a budget camper build. I might eventually paint this anyway, so for now, we're just gonna use some spray paint to cover up the gray, and hopefully it'll match a little bit and not look absolutely horrible. Okay, well that is dripping a ton, what the heck? That is also not a white. That's showing up as like a yellow almost. I'm gonna try and wipe this off actually. That did not work. All right, well that was a total fail. I'll have to revisit this painting situation because this paint I got, which is just a basic flat white, all-in-one primer and paint, looks like it should match, and if you hold it up, like it looks pretty close. But I started spraying it on there and it just looks super, super yellow. Way different color than the side of this box truck. So I'll have to revisit this. On the bright side though, all of these holes are now patched between the epoxy JB Weld on the inside of the holes and then the Bondo on the outside. I feel like they should be pretty waterproof. So super stoked to have that taken care of. Before we can start to do some of the repairs up on the roof, the first thing we need to do is get it nice and clean. But this van is tall, really tall. Unfortunately, I don't have a ladder, so my idea is to move the Sequoia as close as I can to the box van here, stand up on my Sherpa rock, and hopefully that is tall enough to allow me to start and clean the roof of the box van. Let's give it a shot.
Anywhere I stood, you were standing by. With me when I'm fine, with me when I'm not.
Let's see if this works here. Now I'm not really sure the best way to clean this thing, but we're going to start off with some Dawn dish soap.
No scenario, there anywhere we go. You've been with me all along, long, long, long. Oh, it's fun. My side, you've never gone. You've been with me all along. And you've been holding on for so long. Where others could be gone, you stayed with me all along. You're still with me and I hope you stay. We come a long way since the early days. Always had a spot in the escapades and a suitcase for the getaway.
Well, I made some progress on the roof. All of that dirt and mold and mildew is kind of caked into the crevices on the roof. I went to go get a harder bristle brush to hopefully help with the scrubbing and removing some of that dirt. And I came back and everything is frozen over, and the roof of the box van is now like an ice rink. Unfortunately, there still is a lot left to do with this roof to get it ready for painting and coating. So I'll have to come back to it on a warmer day when our water and soap doesn't freeze. 1 week later, we are back. It's finally warmer here in Central Oregon. Let's see if we can finish cleaning this roof, hopefully without it freezing this time.
I thank you, I thank you. You never put me in the rear view, and I wouldn't be the same without You've been with me all along, long, long, long. Always on my side, you've never gone. You've been with me all along. You've been holding on for so long. Where the others would be gone, you stayed with me all along.
All right, so we got the roof all cleaned up. That was a ton of work. It looks so much better than what it was. And now we can move on to actually resealing the roof and making sure water doesn't come into our camper. The first thing we're going to start with here is this roof sealant tape for RVs. It's pretty similar to Eternabond, just not the name brand Eternabond, but should do the same thing. We're gonna put this around all of the seams, and this should hopefully help to seal off those corners. So this area up here, this is the area that's been leaking, kind of the front right corner of the box. You can see lots of this previous sealant is kind of starting to crack, and I'm not surprised some water has got in here. So we're gonna make sure to really cover this area up nicely when resealing the roof. Finished up the process of installing this RV roof sealant tape around all of the four corners of the box, and now we can move on to applying first our primer. So I just finished applying one coat of primer. This primer is definitely a little bit weird to work with. Going to let this sit for a little bit and then might do another coat. We'll see how it looks after this. Overall, the roof is looking a lot better than what it was when I purchased the box van. All right guys, welcome back to the van. It is 3 weeks later. I have been wanting to work on the van so bad, but the weather has just not been cooperating. It's been rainy, it's been snowy, we've had temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had a ton of rain. Well, all of that rain exposed that the van is still leaking. Obviously, this was a pretty big disappointment. I was hoping that I could just kind of lay down the tape, get it sealed up and move on. But at the same time, I'm grateful to figure it out now before I get too deep into the build. I went ahead and removed all of the tape this morning. A bunch of moisture kind of got underneath it and it just wasn't sealing it as much as I thought it was. And we are going to get back to work up there and try and get this roof sealed. It's proving to be more of a challenge than I was originally imagining. But again, this is the first time I've ever done a van build. I'm learning things as I go. And we're gonna try resealing the roof here a second time with a couple different things. You guys can see all of this old sealant here. Originally, I thought that I could just kind of tape over it, but I think there's so much moisture and water that's kind of trapped under here that it's going to be better to just peel all of it up. Now, obviously, this is going to be more work, and I was hoping I could get away without having to remove this, but I think in order to completely reseal this, it's going to be best to go ahead and peel all of this stuff up.
Skeleton in
All right, well, after about 5 hours of scraping with a putty knife, I feel like we have pretty much got most of the old sealant removed. Let me show you guys what it's looking like. Up front here, this is where the most sealant was, and we removed a big strip of it. This was so dried and cracked that moisture was coming through, and you can see that moisture is coming through because there is some rust around a couple of these rivets up here. So went ahead and removed that, and then worked my way around the edges, removing the sealant on all of these edges, all the way around the box. I'm really glad that I did remove especially the sealant in the front, because when it rained, I was having some leaks in these front corners. And you guys can see there's like this 1/16 inch gap here, which makes it really easy for water to go in. And I think what was happening is because this old sealant was kind of dried and cracked, water was just seeping straight through and then going through this gap and to the inside of the van. So hopefully by removing this, we'll be able to completely reseal it, fill this gap, and prevent any more water from coming in through these front corners. I spent almost all day on the roof of the box van scraping the sealant off, trying to get it prepped so that we can start resealing it hopefully tomorrow. Finished today off just by doing some fiberglass repair. Again, I'm not sure if it is leaking on those 2 spots on the box van, but I figured while I have the time and I have everything open and exposed, might as well add a couple layers of fiberglass just to be safe. Long day today, but I feel like we got a good amount done, and I'm excited to start again tomorrow. As far as sealants go, I got a couple of different options. I have this lap sealant and then Sikaflex 221. I got this on Amazon, and this is what we are going to start with. I let the sealant dry for about an hour just so it wasn't wet, and then went back to that front section where the box connects to that front fairing and just added a little bit more, since that is the main area that's been leaking. The next step will be reapplying some primer, since it's been about 3 weeks since I did the first coat. Once we do that, we can move on to applying the RV roof sealant that I got, and hopefully after that we should be all wrapped up with resealing the roof. This is the primer we're using. It's from Liquid Rubber. We'll do this first.
Keep it going. Stay or say farewell. How bad could it really be? Only time will tell. Put out the light, put out the light, put out the light, or let it glow. Put out the light, put out the light, put out the light, or let it glow. Ride out the rain or roll on, but now down to the wire. Blow out the flame or hold on, watch out, here comes the fire now.
Well, I just applied a 3rd coat. Did I apply it too soon? Probably, absolutely. It's supposed to rain and get colder later this week, and since the first couple of coats were pretty light, I decided I'd rather just get a 3rd layer on there and try and give it as much time to dry and cure before it does start to get colder. It's the next day now, and we got some rain this morning and through the day, which I know is not ideal since we just coated the roof last night and it's only been about 12 hours since we applied the last coat. But this was about the only stretch of time I had where I could actually coat the roof, so I'm hoping even with the rain it'll still be okay. With that being said, that is going to wrap it up for this video. This was kind of the process of sealing the roof of my box van. Like I said, I'm definitely going to continue to check on it over the next couple of weeks and make sure that everything is fully sealed. I just don't want to start building out the inside, putting in new wood floors if I know there's going to be rainwater coming in that could damage things. If you guys are enjoying this series, definitely don't forget to like and subscribe. It's a completely free way to help support my channel, and I really do appreciate it. Additionally, if you have any comments, tips, or suggestions for the box van, definitely drop them in the comment section below. This is my first time doing a van build or van conversion, and any tips or ideas are greatly appreciated. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.